Hello everyone, and welcome back to Maldor's Crafts. Man, what a crazy time we are in right now. Not only the United States, but the world with the whole coronavirus thing going on. As many of you know, most of the world is locked down. Everybody is on quarantine, and I just want to wish all my friends, family, and my fans out there, I hope you guys are all safe. I hope you all are well and in good health during this crazy time. With that being said, I do apologize. It's been a couple weeks since I posted a video. The last video I posted was Cragmaw Hideout Part 1. And of course, that's why you're back watching today. Cragmaw Part 2. Cragmaw Hideout Part 2. We're going to be talking about that today. It's just been a crazy time during this whole coronavirus thing. We at the house here have been trying to stock up on as much supplies as we can during this whole crazy coronavirus thing, and it's been insane out there. I was going to post this video last night, and I ended up getting some weird stomach bug. I don't know what it was. But it just floored me and knocked me out. So I'm feeling better today. So I'm going to go ahead and post this video for you guys. And in the future, I'm going to do my best to post a video every week for you guys so that we have continued content coming out. That way you guys can come check it out every single week. And hopefully I'll have a new video up. This is going to be part 2 of Cragmaw Hideout. In the last video, we talked about the construction of the whole entire map itself, how I had cut each individual piece out into 4 sections, and how we put those pieces together, using some glue, and then how I went ahead and also used the hot wire to cut individual pieces out and make the tops to the maps as far as the caves go. And here in part 2, we're going to be talking about paint. You'll see how we're going to go ahead and paint all these pieces up and really make this map pop out and come to life. So that's what we're going to be doing here in part 2 for Cragmaw Hideout. So again, thank you all for coming back. I appreciate the likes. If you haven't already subscribed to Maldor's Craft, please do subscribe. It really helps me out and gives me some motivation to continue to do videos for you guys. I love to do these videos for you guys, and we're going to continue to build some cool stuff here for Dungeons & Dragons on the channel. So if you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure to click the bell icon for future content, so when I do put some new videos out, you get notifications when they come out. So without further ado, let's get Cragmaw Part 2. Alright, so we have our piece that we cut out here for Clark's Lair. We're going to be doing the black Mod Podge mix. I got this idea from Black Magic Craft. He came up with this idea. This is not my idea, and I just been kind of using it, and it works great. It's a mixture of the regular Mod Podge and black paint. I just mix it in my little cup here that I've cut up, and I kind of use it as a little dip tray. So what I'm doing here is just basically black bombing the whole entire base. I like to start with the base first, so I get all the nooks and crannies of the base and just start spreading it around evenly. You don't want to make it too thick. You want to spread it out as much as you can. The whole idea behind this is to not only add a base coat for when your paint comes later on, that way it takes paint, but it's to also strengthen the structure so it makes it more stronger and more durable as you're going to be using these pieces later on down the road. So just make sure you get real tight in the nooks and crannies, because you want as much of this stuff as to get in the corners and the crevices as possible. And as you see here, just spread it out nice and evenly. You don't want it really thick because it's going to take a long time to dry if you do that. Just spread it out nice and thin and just get good coverage. So now we're moving up to the top layer now. And again, keep in mind this is two 1-inch pieces of XPS foam stacked on each other and cut, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. We're just going to go ahead and black bomb the whole entire top. And I kind of skipped the middle part, so you also want to do that to the inner walls as well. So make sure you get the inner walls and then move on to the top. Like I said, I like to do the base first, or the floor, and then I move up to the walls, and then I move up to the top. And the reason why I do that is because I like to do the base first because it covers the base, and then you have something to grab onto while you're painting your pieces on the top. So do the base, do the middle, insert of the walls, and then go ahead and move to the top. And this stuff shouldn't take very long to dry. Once you black bomb the whole thing, just let it set. It should take about 10 to 15 minutes to dry. Maybe not even that long. It dries pretty quick. And when you're finished, you should have something that looks like this when it's all dried up. Okay, and now we are moving to our first tile here for the map. This is going to be the grass area and the entrance of the cave, and also where the river is going to be, or the stream, I'm sorry, is going to be coming out. And what I'm using here is apple barrel green. I do believe it's called Christmas green. So you want to go ahead and color all your base right here for the grass green. I chose this color. You can use whatever color green you want. You know, it's going to be your map if you're building it, so whatever color green you want, but I chose Christmas green. And again, you just want to go ahead and put a nice coat of your color on here now that you got the base coat down with the black Mod Podge mix. So now your color should stick really good and come out. And here I'm just spreading it out evenly. Like I said, the thicker you put on your paint, the longer it's going to take to dry, as you have that thick layer just sitting on top of the layer you already put on. So once you paint it, just kind of go over it again and just spread it out evenly, and you'll see that it dries a lot faster. So right here you just want to get in as close as you can, again in the nooks and crannies by the cliff face, and try to get in there and get some good coverage in those corners. After you put your first coat on, let it set again, you know, for 10 or 15 minutes. Come back and check it. If you're not happy with the results you get, go ahead and do a second coat. I noticed the darker you make your Mod Podge mix, the more you're going to have to add some more paint to kind of bring those colors out. So I had to go ahead and do 2 coats on everything I did. So if that's the case, go ahead and add 2 coats of paint. So we moved from the green. Now we're going to go ahead and paint the top of the cliff, or I'm sorry, it's going to be would be the top of the cave cliff face here. So I'm using a light brown. It's from Apple Barrel. I like Apple Barrel paints. I don't know exactly which offhand what paint this is. I want to say it's going to be light brown, But same thing, go ahead and add your paint and spread it out evenly. Go ahead and get a thin coat, that way it dries fast, and if you need to later on you can go back and add a second coat. So we've completed the first one, now we've kind of jumped across, and we're going to go ahead and start painting the second piece here. And I'm just spreading it evenly, making sure that I get full coverage. As you can see, there's some of the darker spots that are kind of bleeding through the brown, so I'm just going to have to end up going over those again with a second coat of brown. And you should have something that looks like this when you're all done. I kind of skipped the part in the back there where I continued painting in brown. That's going to be on another tile on the other side. But yeah, it looks pretty good. And so now we have the first piece that we black bombed, and we're just going to go ahead and do the same exact thing, but of course now we're adding brown to the floor piece here. And again, same thing with the black bomb. I like to do the base first, so I do the floor, then I do the walls, and then I'm going to jump up to the top of the cave and cover that in. Now, after you get your black bomb finished, you definitely want to cover with your main color, but if you can, try to leave some of those lines there as black as you can. That way, when you guys are playing the game, you can differentiate those tiles, the 1-inch grid. So after you get all that colored up, nice and dry, what I did here is I chose a burnt umber, apple barrel burnt umber, and I used a cotton ball, and I'm just very lightly pressing, and I'm kind of experimenting. This is the first time I ever used this, but I thought it would look really cool. So I'm just dipping it in the burnt umber and then kind of drying it out, and then going back to the piece and very lightly just kind of tapping it on there. And this is kind of giving me what I would say like a smudgy dirt, maybe rock effect on here. We will add actual rocks in here later on, but it's just to give the ground a little bit more texture on top of the texture you're already put. And you can do this to taste. I decided that what I had put in there was not enough, so I'm just adding some more. And once you finish with the base, go ahead and do that to the top of the cave ceilings, and continue to do that all the way around. Some spots I like to do heavy, and then some spots I kind of lighten it up just to change it and make it look a little bit more natural. And as you can see now, this piece is really starting to pop out. It's starting to come to life with these little accents. So now that we got that all finished up, this is one of my favorite parts to do. I'm just using regular apple barrel black, and what I'm doing is I'm dry brushing black on the outer edges, or I'm sorry, it would be the top outer edges of the cave. And what it does is it really brings out the outer lines and just kind of highlights those outer lines of the cave and makes them stand out. It looks really good. And you don't want to dip your brush in the paint and just start adding it. What I like to do is dip it and almost like you're going to dry brush, but you're still leaving your brush a little wet, as you can see there, and then just continue to go all the way around on all your outer edges. And this really looks great on the tile piece, makes it really pop out and come to life. And I realized after I did this, I kind of messed up these first two outer pieces that I'm doing. I intended to paint those outer pieces, but the inside piece right here, I shouldn't have painted that because it's going to continue on to the next piece on the other side of the map. You'll see that later on, but it's okay. Just make sure that you paint the right sides of the tile pieces. And there you go. Starting to look pretty good. And I'm just going to continue on touching up some of the spots that I may have missed and just kind of brighten them up a little bit more with some highlight. Looking pretty good. So I'm going to do the same thing now that I got the green part dried out. I went ahead and used a more of a lighter green to accent the grassy area. I liked the way the brown turned out on the first piece, so I went ahead and did it on this piece. And this is to kind of mimic some maybe some grass, a little bit more texture to the texture that you already put on there. And as you can see, I left the middle part open because that's where I'm going to paint the stream coming out of the cave mouth. And back to highlighting the top of the cliff face there. Same thing, just go ahead and use black. And again, I like apple barrel paint. You can use whatever paint you'd like. Any color you'd like. I thought it would be cool to highlight it in a lighter brown, but the black to me just really stands out on here, so I like to highlight the edges with black. And again, when you're doing this, you don't want your brush completely wet with black or whatever color you choose, almost like you're going to dry brush it on. As you can see there, I'm just kind of getting that excess paint off and just really lightly just adding some highlight to the edge right there. And once you finish doing the highlights, the green highlights that you added to the grass, they should already be dry, so you can even move on to painting the river or the stream coming out of the cave mouth by this time. So that's what I like to do. Once I finish one piece, I immediately move on to the next, and you could have this whole entire map, you know, busted out in maybe, you know, 3 to 4 hours from start to finish. And as you can see here, all those highlights are starting to really pop out. It's going to look really good when it's done. you go. Starting to come together, starting to look like a map. So here I kind of jumped ahead. I went ahead and painted the stream coming out, and so now I'm just adding some really light highlights, and I'm using light blue, apple barrel light blue. And what I'm doing is I'm using a thinner brush, and I'm very lightly just kind of drawing in some light blue streaks, and this is to mimic maybe the water coming around the bends and kind of adding a little bit of a ripple effect. And this is all to taste. You can add as many as you'd like. You can do any kind of different swirl shapes or ripple effects. And I found with adding the darker blue for the stream and then these lighter blue on top, I didn't have to add any second coats. It only took one time to get the effect I wanted. And while we're painting the little ripple effects here, you can see now that the obviously the grass is completely dry, and the cliff face and the top of the cave mouth is completely dry, and that black highlight that I added to the top really makes these walls stand out. And before I started painting the stream in, I realized that I had to touch up some of the grass, so you can see some of the darker green there. I just kind of went over back with the Christmas green and just painted that in to fill in the spots that I didn't add the river to. So I'm just coming around the entrance of the cave mouth there and kind of touching up that little section, adding some ripple effects, making it look pretty good. And there we go. That's Cragmaw Hideout Part 2. And as you saw in this Part 2 of the video, we talked about paint. You guys saw how we painted each of the pieces for the map. And in Part 3, we're going to talk about the smaller details as far as the map goes, putting rocks and more of the details in the river, and even adding more detail and just make that map pop up and come to life. So I hope you guys like what you saw. And again, make sure to come back for Part 3. I'll be posting that video next week. As best as I can with all the craziness going on, but I want to put that video out there for you guys so you can see Part 3. So make sure to come back to the channel and check out Part 3. And again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell notification for future content when I put it out. And you guys can reach me at maldorscraft@gmail.com. Send a comment, send a like, ask some questions. If you guys have any ideas of any new material you would like to see put out, any new builds, anything like that, definitely reach me at maldorscraft@gmail.com, and I will get to you as soon as I can. I'd love to hear from you guys. So thanks for stopping by and checking out Cragmaw Hideout Part 2 on Maldor's Craft, and thanks for stopping by. And as always, stay crafty.